Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another Clips for Sale Legal Zone webinar with, of course, the most famous, very famous attorney, Corey D. Silverstein, and the D stands for dangerous and Detroit. Anyway, Corey's here. Of course, we have Dr. Chantel. Maybe the D stands for doctor. That could be it too. And then we have Dr. Chantel. You can't. Okay, hold on. I'm still doing my intro. You can't talk yet.
Sorry.
Okay. That's the only time I can put Corey in his place in the beginning. Dr. Chantel is here. We have someone driving in a car, which is dangerous. I don't recommend you doing that. And everybody, welcome again. Here we are again. Legal Zone, Clips for Sale. Nobody else does it like we do it. We bring you the best attorneys in the business. You can ask any questions you want to. We will give you answers. You can contact our attorneys afterwards, of course, and all those things are the contact info will all be in there. But I'll just turn it right over here to Dr. Corey and Dr. Chantel, and we can go from there.
Neil, I think that was your greatest intro yet.
I'm trying.
I can't even. There's no candle that can be held to that.
Wow, I was born to do this stuff.
That was fantastic.
I was kind of thinking that we start referring to Neil as the custodian of Clips for Sale, meaning and have a mop bucket in there for him.
I have a mop in the other room.
That's good.
I could do that. Okay, good. So what are our topics today, Dr. Chantel? Do we have anything exciting to talk about?
We got quite a few. Corey has some breaking news too that really connects with one of our topics that we're going to discuss.
Breaking.
Yes, breaking, but we don't want to let him blow his
load
too soon. So let's start talking about the Nevada privacy law, SB 220, which will require website and online service operators establish a designated address for consumers to submit requests for said operators to not sell certain information that they collect about consumers. Corey, what does that mean and why?
Just in case we need something, there's breaking news. Anyway, okay. Go ahead.
You know your social was on that, right, Neil?
Yeah. That's an odd law there. I never heard about it. Is that a new law?
No, actually. This particular Nevada law has been around for a while, but
they just updated it though.
They've updated it.
Okay.
It was set to expire, and this is an amendment to it. So what the great state of Nevada has decided to do to make lives a little bit more wonderful for everyone who's paying attention to the data protection issues going on is that they have beefed up their law, so to speak, to make it a little bit more difficult on operators. So just to be specific, what the amendment does, and just so you know, the amendment kicks in, because everyone keeps asking me this, when does it kick in? The effective date is October 1, 2019. Obviously, we're doing this live, but for those of you that are watching this down the line, which a lot of you have been doing, keep in mind that, again, October 1, 2019 is the effective date. So the first thing that you have to be aware of is that, one, any consumer can send you what's going to be called a verified request directing the operator of the website to not make any sale of covered information collected about the consumer. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is that, as we all know, oftentimes companies, when you subscribe to a certain website, when you subscribe to a certain product, you give them your information. And a lot of times there's a lot of terms and conditions, many of which I've written, many of which my good friend and colleague Larry Walters has written, who's taking part in today's webinar as well. One of the big things is that, again, there's a lot of things that your data can be used for by this particular site that you sign up for, meaning they can take your data, they can use it to give it to other advertisers, give it to other traffic sources potentially. And so what Nevada has done, though, Nevada has actually put into their law, into their privacy law, a requirement that says that a user can send a verified request to a website operator to say, hey, I don't want you selling my data. Now, the law also says that the operator has an obligation to respond within 60 days. What used to happen is that oftentimes operators would get letters from people saying, hey, I don't want you to do this with my data. I don't want you to do that with my data. And they might not even respond. Well, Nevada's law that takes effect on October 1 is specifically going to require that a website operator actually respond to it. The failure to respond could be a violation of the act. Speaking of, people are also always asking Chantel, well, this law in Nevada, what the hell can this actually do to me? Well, what this law does is it gives the Nevada Attorney General, the power to enforce it. They can either issue a temporary or permanent injunction. That would be an order stopping someone from being able to do a certain thing one way or another. And also, though, could be a civil penalty not to exceed $5,000. However, it is $5,000 per violation. So just thinking out loud, and again, this is new, we haven't seen this thing in action yet. Imagine if you're a website that you're sharing your information or your data of 100,000 people that you shouldn't be, or you did something wrong. Well, do 100,000 times 5,000, and you're going to see how quickly these numbers can add up. It's a growing concern. We obviously have California's version, COPA, the CCPA, which is coming out later this year. And so this is now the state of Nevada that's saying, okay, well, we're joining in on the fun and we're going to make our privacy laws. One of the other things that this bill does is it does something very interesting. It actually defines the word sale. The word sale is defined as the exchange of covered information for monetary consideration by the operator. So what this means under Nevada's definition is that there is a chance, and we're going to have to see this thing in action, that let's say someone is using your data, but not actually the person that they're selling it to isn't giving them money, but instead there's some sort of reciprocal service. Then under this law, there's a chance that the person sharing the information could claim that it doesn't apply to them because they didn't receive monetary compensation. Now, again, we have to wait until October, and we have to see the Nevada Attorney General actually try to enforce this law so that we can get a clear idea of what they intend on doing and where the challenges are going to be.
So let me ask you a question on that real quick. So does that mean that it's only a business that's located in Nevada, or the customers in Nevada, or how does that actually work?
No, any business, and if any business that has a Nevada consumer, so we'll use Clips4Sale, for example. Clips4Sale obviously has consumers in Nevada, so this law would absolutely apply to Clips4Sale and to the young lady trying to cover the camera with her hand, who just did a terrible job. There you go, Toda. You got a better job there.
So wait, okay. So if you say are an independent model and you are located in the state of Nevada and you are using an adult industry friendly mail service, so you're not using something like MailChimp that will cancel you, right? You're using something that's friendly. Mm-hmm. You're based there and you're gathering data like consumers like this time, that time. Would you be possibly selling it? And then if you're selling it or sharing it, this law obviously applies to you. And then also if your website is, or you, what did you call it? What is the name of, like, the website owner? There's a phrase that you use.
The operator.
The operator. So if the operator, same thing, if the operator, say, is located in Colorado,
yep.
If the consumer is located in Nevada. So if anybody in this exchange is in Nevada, then this applies.
This is, if a consumer is in Nevada, they have every right to send an email to the website. If that's going to be the properly accepted verified means, we don't know what that is yet. But if that's the proper method that an email is acceptable, and they say, hey, I'm a Nevada resident, it doesn't matter whether, Clips4Sale happens to be located in Florida. It doesn't matter that they're located in Florida. A Florida operator like Clips4Sale. See, I thought we talked about this, guys, last time.
Phone off, power off, all the way.
It's in airplane mode, courtesy of, I think it was Sarah's idea at last time, just to put it in airplane mode, and that didn't work. So
wow.
we're gonna turn it off completely and give that a shot. So we're gonna have to put an end to that.
So I get it. So then basically then you get contacted, you have 60 days to say, okay, we will not share your data. And that's
you have 60 days to respond, because there's exceptions. Now, the question that Chantel just asked a minute ago is a really good question, because what they did in this particular case is Nevada has redefined what a consumer is. And I'm going to read it because I'm still trying to figure this out. And this is more narrow than what California did. So according to Nevada law, a consumer is a person who seeks or acquires by purchase or lease any good, service, money, or credit for personal, family, or household purposes from the internet website or online service of an operator. So what the hell does that mean? I think that, Chantel, what the state of Nevada did is they learned from some of the other mistakes of other states that the definition wasn't quite as narrow enough, and it rose some challenges. And so what Nevada did is they tailored a little more. But ultimately, if you're an individual, and again, we'll use, this is a perfect example, we'll say you're purchasing a clip. That would absolutely, a consumer, someone who's buying a clip from Clips4Sale would absolutely have every right to go to Clips4Sale and say, hey, pursuant to Nevada law, that takes effect in October. They couldn't do this now.
Right.
They could notice saying, hey, I want you to, confirm that you're not doing anything with my data, et cetera, pursuant to this law. And you would have the obligation within 60 days to file a response that we'll have to see how it turns out.
That's
now,
good.
So,
probably the good
Tons
news.
and Tootsies right now. How does this affect our stores on Clips4Sale? As we have no information on the customers. From what I'm understanding you're saying right now, Corey, is that actually for a person who is making a sale within Clips4Sale, this would not impact them. This would impact Clips4Sale. But if somebody was doing a business within the context of the platform, then they don't have to be concerned with this. Clips4Sale has to be concerned with this. But where the studios and producers within Clips4Sale may want to think about this is if they're having like their own store separately, or if they have their own commercial exchange outside of that, right?
Yes, and so like we've talked about in some of our prior episodes, a lot of Clips4Sale models very smartly and very in a very entrepreneurial way, they not only use Clips4Sale, they also use their own social media platforms to try to sell content. And we're going to segue into that a little bit later when we talk about the big, huge breaking news red alert of the day that I know you're like, Neil's so excited to put up his little cell phone and show us.
I gotta find it again.
He's so pumped, it's incredible. It's funny. That's how actually he gets his wife to talk to him. He just holds up his little breaking news thing. That's like the only way.
Not entirely true, but it's close.
It's the only way your wife pays attention to you. Otherwise, she just.
I walk around with this on my head. Hey, honey, breaking news.
Well, otherwise she doesn't want to talk to you. I mean,
pretty much.
Let's go back to the Nevada law.
So I have a question, Chantel and Dr. Corey there. What I'm thinking is this. So obviously the producers have nothing to worry about through Clips4Sale platform. It's our problem. We obviously, in our terms of service, we don't sell data or share data. So really, we're pretty much not even.
But if somebody contacts you, it doesn't matter if you don't do it, right, Corey?
They can still contact us, and we could always revert them to the terms of service that we don't share data. So
we would still respond, and because that's what the law requires. But ultimately, the nice thing about being in a platform like Clips4Sale is that an individual model wouldn't have to worry about doing this if all she was doing or he was doing was selling clips through Clips4Sale.
Right.
Clips4Sale would handle any such response. So in that case, there's a huge benefit to going through a platform. Now, on the flip side, for those performers that are selling their content via social media, via their own individual platforms that they've created, or however they're doing it, because obviously there's so many different payment platforms. And again, little hint, that's our big thing we're going to be talking about today in a few minutes that we're going to segue to, because I'm really excited to talk about it. I know Chantel is, because Chantel claims she even showered before today's thing, so she knew there was something big coming.
Big news.
It is huge. The whole world will know this now. It's going to be like a viral tweet. Chantel took a shower, but it's really big. So anyway, so going back to Nevada, and just to kind of sum it up, it's again, though, this is an example where I've been talking about this over and over again. I've been speaking about this at conferences throughout the world. Again, this data privacy issue, data security, it's continuing to grow. And if you think this is like done, that Nevada is going to be the last bit, it's not. The feds are working. When I say the feds, the United States federal government has been actively working on their own federal privacy law for quite some time now. And, who knows what they're going to come up with. Hopefully, they'll learn from the ambiguities and the mistakes of GDPR. But my guess is it's going to be quite the presentation we're going to have on it when it eventually comes out. So,
okay, well, that's good.
So let's then, I don't see any questions. So we had that one.
Let me know when there's breaking news, because I'm ready.
We're breaking news. We got to get one more thing because Corey's going to get on a freight train when the breaking news happens, and we're not going to be able to stop him. So,
well, I am, and don't forget, I'm excited because we have Allie Knox on the. She's here today. So from Spank Chain, and she's so we actually have someone from one of the cryptocurrency companies, and it's going to be very, very huge, and then probably a minute or two.
Before we get to that, let's talk about the idea of assumed names, which is something I also want to talk about, and also why they suck in your work.
Yes.
Please tell us. Tell us about assumed names and why they suck.
Breaking news T-shirt courtesy of Daniel Kaboom. Thank you, Daniel. Oh, that's Daryl. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
I don't know if we can trust you. You can't even read.
With my glasses on, it's difficult. And Neil made a new policy: no drinking or substance abuse prior to us doing these.
Right, you got to be of sound mind when you do these things.
Also, next week, the other breaking news is I'm going to be investing in a piece of jewelry like Neil, so that I can be just like him.
Clips4Sale medallion, nice.
Just a giant medallion that I can wear, like it's going to to be huge. Like
instead of a clock, you're going to have a Clips4Sale medallion.
Yep, and it'll
I can't do. The clock won't work, but it's going to be huge. It probably like something horribly inappropriate, but we're getting on that.
Good.
So the reason why we're talking about the DBA issue is because this actually just came up after we did our presentation a couple weeks ago, where we talked about entities on this particular. We can't call it a podcast, can we? A webinar.
Webinar.
So on this particular webinar, one of the first things that came up, believe it or not, is a Clips4Sale customer reached out to me, said they had a huge problem. They were involved in a case where they actually got sued, and they were all upset because they've been crying to the judge that, hey, I have a DBA, I'm not individually liable. So let's talk about DBAs real quick, okay? DBAs are not legal entities. There is so much misinformation with that. I don't understand. Frankly, I still, in my opinion, they're worthless. But DBAs ultimately, they do not give you individual protection. You cannot get a DBA and call yourself whatever you want to call yourself and think that just because you're going by a certain name, even if it's registered in the county that you're residing in, that is somehow going to protect you from potential legal exposure. That is absolutely incorrect. A legal entity like an LLC, a corporation, those are entities. Those are entities that can actually give you protection, both from liability and from, and of course, to maximize the benefits of taxation laws. But again, it's a huge confusion that for some reason people just are still falling into this trap where they're thinking that by registering a DBA they're protected. They're not. So for those of you listening, again, if you have a DBA, you should be getting with the lawyer in your local jurisdiction, talking about the different businesses, the different type of entities that are available, because like we talked about a few seminars ago, there are different options, and what's going to be better for you will greatly depend on legal consultation, accounting, and so forth. But Chantel, it's something that we had to clear up because we got, again, it came up literally right after the last webinar. So
why would somebody, because I mean, I'm sure there's lots of people who have DBAs. Why would somebody opt for that versus just setting up an LLC or some sort of separate entity in the first place? And like, are there any reasons to have a DBA? You know, like somebody out there who has one, or they totally screwed? Like,
I personally think that I've never found them to be of any use, and here's why. Again, it gives you no legal. It's not an entity. It's nothing. The reason why people do it very often is, one, because they want to be able to. They think that to open up a bank account in another person's name. So let's say, for example, I operated a website that was, Chantel does the eastern part of the U.S. or whatever we come up with, and I want to write checks that say, Chantel does the eastern half of the country. Right. So you register a DBA. That way, when they go into the bank, they can actually have a bank account statement that will say that on it. But what the reality is that the individual opening that account is personally responsible for all the incomings and outgoing payments coming into that account. A DBA is just a way that it's, in essence, you just saying to the public that this is, even though my name is Chantel, I go by this name. Again,
why does a DBA, why is that even a thing that exists then? That seems like
it's easy, it's cheap. Some banks will require it if you want to be able to go by a certain name instead of having your name on an individual account. It is, again, in my experience, I've seen very little purpose to it. I don't see why any lawyer would ever suggest it to a person, because in reality, setting up an LLC, and I don't want to rehash this because we did this a couple weeks ago, setting up an LLC is not that difficult.
Not, but it's more expensive than a DBA, and maybe it sounds more intimidating. And so maybe people opt for a DBA when they're just starting out because they don't know any better. Right. They really don't, and that's one of the reasons why we do this webinar. Is, again, we're trying to get education out there, and we're trying to help people to know the difference. We're dealing with this. I'm dealing with actually with my colleague Larry Walters down in Florida. We're dealing with one right now. We're helping a business get all of their entities straight, which they very much needed to do. This is something that, again, it's very state dependent. So depending on where you are, there's going to be some question as to, should we be looking at that state? Should we be looking at potentially another state? There's Kimmy to everyone, LLC over an S Corp. That is precisely what we talked about. I think we talked about last time. It's a great question, Kimmy. LLCs for businesses just starting off. No, LLCs are actually easier to manage. There's less compliance. They're easier to set up. They're cheaper to set up. If you wanted to do an S Corp, you say S Corp, just so everyone knows. S Corp is just the tax classification. It's a corporation, but by classifying yourself as an S corporation, the taxes would flow through to the individual's tax return instead of the corporation filing its own tax return. So to answer your question, Kimmy, for most models that I've worked with, we usually recommend LLCs. They're simpler to manage, easier to set up, more cost efficient. And at the same time, from a liability standpoint, they give you just the same level of legal protection that a corporation would. So then basically, to kind of sum it up before we get to our breaking news.
Breaking news, and I'm so excited about this.
Using a DBA or
Erica Icon, who just asked that question, if you're already an S Corp, switching over to an LLC, probably not. If you've already gone through the trouble of creating the corporation and you've done it the right way, meaning you have you have your bylaws, you're properly registered with whatever state you're in, all of your documents, you have corporate books that you're regularly maintaining with minutes, et cetera. If you're already doing all that, no, switching to an LLC all that much sense at this point.
But for somebody who's currently using a DBA or working with an assumed name, any of that stuff, LLC, make the switch, right? Get
out. Get a run from those DBAs. I can't stress that enough. Just run.
Okay.
Right, John Del Hardy's iPhone.
I like it.
Yes.
I love reading all the names. You remember that one funny name we had a couple weeks ago?
I don't. Yeah, I remember. I don't remember the name, but it was funny.
It was pretty cool.
So,
are we ready for my thing or not yet?
Okay, ready? We're gonna lead in. Okay, I'm gonna say it. All of a sudden, then Neil, you flash the sign. All right, everybody, we're about to talk about breaking news.
The breaking. So is that gonna be flashing on when we actually replay this webinar? Is that just gonna be flashing over?
Yes, of course. This is professional. This is a very professional thing we're doing here.
Well, I am super excited because today we had originally picked that we were going to talk about cryptocurrency and how much cryptocurrency can help individual models and website operators. But go figure, and again, this is a fluke. We had no inside information. I mean, Chantel might have been potentially trading favors for information. You never know. But just as luck would have it, what did we get? Today, Facebook announced formally, not all the rumors, that Facebook is going forward with their very own cryptocurrency.
What does that even mean?
Yes, though, we are talking about Facebook, the company that is presently
under investigation.
Find that people are thinking upwards of $50 billion for privacy violations. So we have it's actually an incredible development. And even more so than Facebook announcing their cryptocurrency. Here's what I've read so far about it, and forgive me, I've got some notes here because I've been reading a lot about this today. Facebook is claiming, now listen to this closely, guys, because you're going to love this. They're calling it Libra, by the way. Libra is going to be the name of their cryptocurrency. That Libra is going to be tied to government-backed funds.
Wait,
now, yes, this is what they're claiming. So
it's very secure and no risk.
According to Facebook execs, and this is what I've been reading all day, they have said, and I'm quoting an article that came out on Yahoo Finance this afternoon. Facebook's exec said that the value of Libra would be tied to government-backed funds. Also, the company said it would use purchase information to target ads to user because the two divisions, they wouldn't, but Facebook made it clear that it sees opportunities to monetize Libra through merchant fees and potentially even lending. So here is my crazy thought of the day. And I'm so happy that we've got someone from SpankChain, because can someone please tell me, because I can't figure it out, how the hell can they call that a cryptocurrency? As far as I'm concerned, that sounds to me like the complete opposite of what a cryptocurrency is supposed to be. Cryptocurrency was supposed to be decentralized. It was supposed to be unregulated. It was supposed to be unattached to any sort of currency. And basically what Facebook has decided is that, and their big news today that, was shocking the world, is that they're coming out with their very own cryptocurrency. Now they're saying that you'll be able to use this cryptocurrency via things like WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. So let's just hash that out. In Facebook's world, they view that as, could a performer potentially sell a clip to someone and that person send them money via Facebook's Libra system? Certainly possible the way it sounds, but at the same time, since they say that they've made it clear that there's opportunity for them to monetize it via merchant fees and lending, I don't really see how it's going to be quite as private as I can't call them conventional cryptocurrencies, but I guess call them as close to what we have seen via cryptocurrency. In my view, the entire purpose of cryptocurrency, and what I really wanted to talk about today with Chantel and Neil, is that the entire purpose was all the opportunities that models had. Because as you guys know, the banks are continuing to crack down on the adult entertainment industry. They make it as miserable for us as possible. And cryptocurrency was an incredible alternative to it. So when I see things like this, now, could I be completely wrong and Facebook Libra could turn into the greatest cryptocurrency ever? Sure, I could be wrong and it could. I don't see it happening though, because again, I think it's the exact opposite.
But even if it does, they're not going to, like, so what you were just saying about the whole, and I'm very, very delicately barely have a finger on my understanding of cryptocurrency. So like, correct me if I'm wrong here. But the whole point, like you were just saying, is that it's private, it's this, it's that. So, all of that, yeah, you can buy what you want and blah, blah, blah. But Facebook, one, not private with this, but also they're the most anti-adult entertainment space out there. So even if it takes off, this is terrible because it's going to pull all of that, like what crypto is all about, and turn it into some kind of Facebook. I mean, Kimmy is saying the most anti-adult site is opening a cryptocurrency. That to me sounds like what this is. And I see that Allie has turned on her camera.
Allie Astra, a lot of people are suddenly turning on their cameras.
This is what it's, the Facebook thing sounds exactly to me like our Clip Cash that we have. You load money in a wallet and you could use it to buy from the site sort of anonymously. That's all they're doing really. Because it's not crypto, because it's still public, it's not private, it's the same thing. So that's basically what they're doing, is they're having their own little wallet system in Facebook, which I believe Snapchat also tried that and they got removed right away because adult people were using it for porn. So that didn't turn out too good for them. So now will they actually be able to use it, and how long until adult starts to monetize it, and how long until it gets shut off? I'm sure over time people are going to try to use it. I don't see why not, because They try to use everything in the beginning, but once they get a hold of what are they doing with it and why is this person sending them $1,000, doesn't make sense. So people are going to start getting banned. Most people don't use Facebook anyway for adults. So
I mean, I guess my ultimate question is, how can you say that it's a cryptocurrency when going to be attached to a Facebook username, which in many cases is the person's real name?
Right, that's true too. So
real name has been verified. So really and truly, this is exactly like Neil's saying. They're starting their own wallet type of thing. Only maybe they're calling it a crypto to make it sound like sexy and edgy and whatever.
Well, what's interesting is they're saying, according to what the news is reporting, and again, this is very new, and I'm just reading secondhand off the various blogs and news sources. Facebook is apparently saying that they are going to have both a cryptocurrency and a wallet. I don't really understand that very much, because I'm guessing like a Facebook account is going to be your wallet and the currency is going to be Libra. And I'm also a little bit curious because, again, if the reports are true that Facebook execs are saying that somehow this would be tied to government-backed funds, I don't even understand that, because it doesn't even make sense. There is no such regulation in existence that I'm aware of, and I don't know what they're planning on tying it to. So this is very confusing. And
I mean, so basically, so also they're saying that there's no risk involved in this cryptocurrency they have. You could trade it, buy it, and it's still going to be worth exactly what you paid into it, and you're not going to lose money, which is obviously good if you don't want the risk.
That's one way to say it, Neil, but I don't see it possible because the FDIC is never going to insure it. As the FDIC insures American deposits up to $250,000.
Right.
I don't see the FDIC coming out and saying that, okay, Facebook and their Libra is now a verified bank, and the FDIC is going to back up to $250,000 of Facebook's currency. I don't see how that's possible. I also don't see how they're going to be able to tie it to anything, because Facebook is all over the world. Facebook is in every country, as far as I know. It's accessible everywhere. I think certain parts of the Middle East do block it. But how are they going to tie this together? None of it makes any sense to me. But
anyway,
it's interesting.
But I don't think we're going to need to worry about it anyway, to tell you the truth.
I don't think it's something to worry about, but I think what's great is that this came out today on the day when what I really wanted to talk about today, and after our first couple seminars, webinars, excuse me, I really got to get better at that.
You can call it.
Neil, after we've done so many of Neil's orgies, I mean, what we ultimately have discovered is that there is so many people talking about crypto, and they're saying, shit, I can't move my money around on Instagram anymore. I can't move my money around, on Facebook anymore. I can't use PayPal anymore. I can't use a standard bank account. And so again, what does that leave? So, and I'll tell you guys something interesting. And this is a personal admission that I don't like admitting. I at first was very, very skeptical of cryptocurrency. In fact, my friend Larry Walters, who's here today, told me long before I started getting into cryptocurrency that I need to get in on it, that it was going to be the future, that it was a smart thing to invest in. And I didn't. I resisted. And I admit that. Who here doesn't wish that they were buying Bitcoin at $6 and $6.50 a coin? What are we at today? $9,200? I mean, come on. But so now we have these various different platforms, and we have platforms like SpankChain that are obviously trying to develop a cryptocurrency that is going to be unique to adult. And we have other ones, there's other ones out there. But ultimately, I think what needs to happen, Neil, and this is my opinion, what I believe is that there needs to be more education to performers on how to use cryptocurrency. A lot of people get overwhelmed. They don't understand how to get money in, how to get money out, how to use it, what the currency is. They don't get it. And what I think, Neil, is that as we see cryptocurrency continue to now what I predict is that it'll grow, where I'm not as much of a skeptic now as I actually believe we're at the very beginning of the cryptocurrency cycle, where this is still our opportunity. I mean, to put it in perspective, think about, Neil, if you were around when the U.S. stock market first got created and you had the ability to buy in, when stocks are trading at pennies. I mean, think about where you are today. my guess is you would have 2 chains that you'd be wearing.
I have an extra charm on here with a little symbol. At this point, I'd be balling.
So Kimmy, Kimmy who just made a point. Kimmy said, actually, Chantel, why don't you read Kimmy's? That's your job, not mine.
Kimmy said it feels like crypto puts a target on your back, and that's what I want to talk about, and that kind of gets back to what you proposed talking about in the first place, Corey. Is how can a model, a performer, a producer, somebody working within Clips4Sale, for instance, how can somebody use crypto effectively, and then also what are the issues with it? And Allie, if you have something to say, because you're a crypto expert over there, you feel free to weigh in.
You're gonna have to, so you have to remember, Chantel, that again, the biggest issue is that people don't understand, first of all, Bitcoin is not the only cryptocurrency available, and they don't understand that. There are numerous different platforms, the Ethereum-based blockchain, EOS has its own block. There are numerous different separate platforms that you can build off of. And so when you say, Kimmy, that it puts a giant target on your back, well, if you're not paying taxes, sure. But if you're actually paying taxes on your gains and calculating your basis and actually doing what you have to do in terms of accounting, it is not per se illegal to use cryptocurrency. It is not per se illegal to transact business via cryptocurrency. What's illegal is if you don't pay your taxes. What's illegal is if you are engaging in a criminal enterprise. If you're engaging in a perfectly legal enterprise, and again, let's use you clip sellers as examples, there is no reason why, I mean, there's so many of you here today. I'll just use Toda as an example, because Toda's screen name is staring me in the face here. There's no reason why Toda couldn't sell a video to a consumer in exchange for cryptocurrency. None whatsoever. And when Toda does her year-end tax returns, assuming Toda is a she, and assuming that Toda is in the US, there's certain requirements that Toda would have to do in terms of declaring her gains. And bang, all of a sudden, to answer your question, Kimmy, why does it put a big target on your back? You think like that, not because it's not because I was going to say not because you're stupid. That's a terrible thing to say. It's not because it's not because
wow,
it's not
easy.
It's because it's honestly because what mainstream media has done with cryptocurrency is that they want to make everybody who uses cryptocurrency out to be a criminal. They want to make it out that anyone who's using cryptocurrency is scandalous and bad. Why, Kimmy? Because that makes it exciting. Nobody reads the news. When's the last time that the headline on CNN was something good? It's always bad. That's just the fact of the matter. Bad news sells, and that's what they want to post. So they want to make it out like you're the end of the world. It's the end of the world, whatever. And so the problem is there's too much bad information and a lot of the good information about the benefits of it, how to use it, why to use it. That information is not being put out there as much as the CNN, as much as the CNN. Hey, every day you see people, okay, somebody lost 400 Bitcoin and was valued at, multi-million dollars, and, and because he threw out his hard drive or did whatever. Okay, great. That's a very interesting news story. But did anybody ever bother, going deeper into that and finding out what services he exchanged for that Bitcoin? How much did he pay for the Bitcoin? I mean, did he mine it? There's so many different criteria to ask. So we have to start doing this, where emphasis needs to start being made on learning about how to use cryptocurrency, learning that it is not as daunting of a task as you may think, Chantel. It is not so difficult that the average person can't figure it out. It's actually quite easy.
Okay, let's do a little sum of this tirade that you just went on.
That was a tirade?
Tirade. That was like 4 minutes of talking without breathing. Tirade.
Yeah, talking too much, basically, is what Chantel's saying.
No.
All right, here. I'm gonna leave. Neil, you take it from here, buddy.
Now we have the real Corey there. Oh, he's back.
Oh, there he's back. Yes.
I couldn't leave.
So there are more cryptos than Bitcoin. We understand that. There is Litecoin and this coin and that coin, and Spank Chain has its own coin. There's all of these different cryptos. So you could liken that to dollars, yen, pesos, right? Like different currencies. all the cryptocurrencies. They're not, it's sort of a victim of propaganda. So it's not necessarily scary or hard to use, but we get these media messages that make it out or make us feel like it's scary or hard to use, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So all of these things, let's pretend we're like, okay, I'm ready to use crypto and it's not scary and hard to use. I'm not going to fall for the propaganda. What are some advantages of it? And why would people even care? Like from a legal standpoint, from a processing standpoint, why are we talking about cryptocurrency on this legal podcast, Corey?
The reason why we're talking about it today is because banking is getting much harder. For those of us in the adult entertainment industry, the sex work industry, between FOSTA, between banking regulations, between conservative politicians pushing private agendas, between private companies, for whatever reason, that were previously pretty open to adult content, now changing their tune, as you guys all know, by the massive, I don't even know how many of you have Instagram accounts left that aren't getting shut down for no apparent reason. The bottom line is that with all of this pressure, why is it that someone who's selling their clips should have to depend on a currency that is being turned down when they have something like a Bitcoin, when they have something like in the adult world, like a spank chain, where they have something in, like you said, Chantel, all these different types of currency that can be exchanged, that have value, that is far less traceable and not governed by Big Brother. There's a substantial benefit to that. We have to start looking at that, because I for one truly believe that the future of the adult industry, if it continues to go down this path of government regulation and these conservative agendas that are getting pushed, I think cryptocurrency may be one of the things that the industry is going to have to rely on.
So
let me ask you a question real quick. So what happens when the government, since they're already squeezing all these other industries, what if they see that, you know what, the adult industry is moving to crypto? That's where we should now focus, because that's the problem now, crypto. So how do you know they're not going to just move over to that and say, there's another issue here? Because there are so many illegal things going on in the dark web with using cryptocurrency. And that's the reason why we don't accept right now crypto on Clips4Sale, is because it goes up and down. So obviously the customer has to have it, not just me, but all the customers have to be educated that you need to go get it. And now they're like, well, wait a minute, what I'm risking my money now and losing money just to buy clips, where I could just use my Visa and MasterCard and I don't have to worry about any of those fees. So there are ups and downs to everything, and that's why we've resisted it for so long. And we might never use it, or we might eventually jump on the bandwagon when it becomes a little bit, and again, regulated would be a good word to use, because it makes it a little more safe and less risky if we know that, we just got 1,000 Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin or whatever it is, and I just went and turned it in 2 days later, and now that 1,000 Bitcoin is now 600 Bitcoin. I just lost 400 Bitcoin for what? I just risked all that money. So I'm one that doesn't like risking money in the stock market or anything like that. So that's how I look at it, as it's a risk reward. If everyone's using it, it makes sense to say you need to get on the bandwagon, because every customer out there has some sort of Bitcoin or some sort of coin right now. So you might as well just, you can't beat them, join them kind of attitude. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as the owner of the site. And I've gotten a lot of besides SpankChain and other ones, a lot of them have come to me and said, you need to set this up, you need to do this. And my question is always to them is it going to be worth the same amount tomorrow that it is today? And most of them say, I don't know. So that's why I get a little nervous that not only am I risking my money, but so is the customer, so is the model. Because what if she doesn't turn her coin in for 30 days? I don't want her coming back to me saying, well, it's Neil's fault. I just lost $6,000 because the thing tanked in 3 days, and I don't want to deal with that. Obviously, I'd send him to you, Corey, and say, go talk to Corey. It's his problem now that we just lost all that money. So that's where it has to be safe, especially with a business. I mean, obviously, you don't want to run a business where you have, unless we're on the stock market, that we don't care if we go up and down. But as a business owner, you want to eliminate the risk from myself, from the models, and from the customers. Obviously they want to feel safe buying from you as a website and a company, right? I would assume.
It's a great point. And what you're saying makes total sense, because this is a very common argument, and it has complete merit. So one thing that I say to people in response to that is, what you do is, with cryptocurrency, you set up two baskets, okay? You set up one, your savings basket. This is your cryptocurrency that you're putting in, that you're willing to lose, that you're willing to say, okay, this is going to end up going to zero. This is an investment, what have you. And then you have your other basket. And your other basket is, I call it your clearing basket. The reason why I call it that is because as the cryptocurrency goes in that you accept, you sell it immediately. You don't wait. You don't wait. Look, is it possible that it could vary from second to second? Of course it can. Every currency in the world varies from second to second. Yes, cryptocurrency obviously has a lot more volatility. However, for someone who's concerned about, okay, well, is it going to be worth this, like you said, in a day from now? The solution to that is use the cryptocurrency as a mean, sell it immediately, i.e. it comes in, sell it. Obviously that could be difficult if you're doing thousands of transactions. It could be difficult to be constantly, selling, but
every 5 minutes.
Exactly. You could do it every so often to dump it. And that's one thing that people are doing. But what I always tell with people with cryptocurrency, for any cryptocurrency you're holding, be prepared to lose it all. If you have 100 Bitcoin that today is worth millions of dollars, be prepared that tomorrow it could be worth zero. Be prepared to lose that. If this is money that you truly need for your survival, what have you, the advice I always give to people is take that cryptocurrency the second you get it, sell it, turn it into USD, Euro, whatever you feel comfortable in, and off you go.
You're basically gambling is what it comes down to.
Yes and no.
Because it's a risk. You could lose money and you can make money. So to me, that's a gamble, and you have to know, what do you think it's going to do? So you're guessing, like with the stock market or anything else, what is it going to do tomorrow, or what is it going to be in 6 months or 3 months? And listen, like I said, as a business owner, I'm not in the business to invest out inside of my company. I take my own personal money and I invest it. Okay, that makes sense. But me to take Clips4Sale and say, I'm taking your money, I'm going to take my portion of my profit, invest it. For me, it doesn't make sense, because I'd rather invest in something safer, something I know is going to be low risk or no risk at all. But that's my personal, but as a business, I don't want to have I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't want to have the risk.
I do. And I want to ask you a question, Neil. So, and this is just some food for thought, a little bit of devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Let's think back to 2014. Say, for example, you're a business, you're operating your business just fine, and you've got 2.5 million euro sitting in your Cyprus bank account. Okay? Mm-hmm. Well, as we know, in 2014, Cyprus, the country, they decided that their mechanism for getting out of the financial disaster they was in, that for anyone that had more than 100,000 euro in their Cypriot bank accounts, guess what? You just lost 40, 50, 60, 70% of your money. What do you say to that argument? So you make a great point. You make an absolute great point. Could cryptocurrency go to zero tomorrow? Sure. But that happened in Cyprus. Cyprus was supposed to be money that was guaranteed by the government. And as it turns out, the government had put out more money in crap than it had in deposits. And as it turned out, everybody lost their money. What do you say?
But remember, we're talking about for me, it's taking a payment for a good or service in exchange for I'm investing and holding my money somewhere. It's a total different scenario, in my opinion. One is, all I want to do is be able to have a customer come in and buy from a producer or a model and be able to pay that model or producer the exact amount of money that they should get for that good or service that they wanted to charge. So the whole scenario you just gave me would make sense if I'm investing those euros in Cyprus and saying, I'm planning on making some money with that later, maybe, I don't know yet. But as a company, I want to make sure I am at the lowest risk possible for customers to be able to come in. It's almost like telling the customers, listen, you can come and use your coin with us, but it might not be worth what you think it's worth. and you need to put $100 into it no matter what and use it on my system, and you might lose out your money. Now I'm telling them what to do, so now I feel responsible. Maybe it's just because me personally, I would feel bad for anybody or the model even, like, sorry, you were supposed to get 1,000 coins. It's only worth, 600 today. Sorry about that. How many people are going to call me and say, fuck you, Neil. Like, I want my money. And where is it? And I'll be like, well, you signed up for the risk. It's not my problem. So I would have a hard time sleeping at night if I had to, if I put all that weight on my shoulders, it would make me crazy, to be honest with you. But if there's a safe way to do it, I'm all ears to hear the safe way.
Okay, so I'll tell you the safe way. The safe way is actually a product that we've built, and there's other people that have built them also. We built it specifically for the adult industry. And we have kind of what Corey was talking about with this Facebook coin. It's actually built to $1. So it's not going to ever change. So if $1 comes in, $1 is going to go back out. We do everything internally under our hood. So when your money comes in, we go ahead and flip it. So we're actually assuming the risk. So whatever money's going in, you can take out. It's not going to fluctuate in price for models, anything like that. I personally am a model. I have an excellent site on Clips4Sale. Thank you very much. And I started taking Bitcoin in 2014. I got my PayPal, my Cash App, my bank account, everything, single thing you could imagine shut down. So I started taking Bitcoin. And then I started getting my Bitcoin shut down. I got my Coinbase shut down. They're just not sex worker friendly. So I think another key thing that we need to kind of talk about, or at least mention, is you make sure that you always do a sex worker friendly exchange. So I use Gemini personally. They will not, it's not in their terms that they could shut me down or anything like that. Coinbase, they could. So I get my money in, it just goes straight to my bank account that way. I don't cash out every day or anything like that to make any red flags. No one knows where my money's coming from. It could come from a paycheck. It could come from a vanilla business. It could come from an adult business. So it doesn't necessarily flag me that way. But it is really important because places like Coinbase, who found out that I was selling adult content through them, shut me down. So it's just like another PayPal situation. So it's really important that you make sure that you're not violating any terms of service, just like any other Cash App.
So let me ask you a question then. So basically you still need a bank account. You still need the bank. So you still need the government to have a bank for you to put your money.
You do. You have to give all your government info, and that's in case they want to give it to the IRS. So when you were talking about earlier, how's the government going to regulate it? That's how. They're going to see how much money you've taken out, and then they're going to tax you on it. I don't know when it'll happen, but that's what will happen.
And you still pretty much are going to need Visa, MasterCard to fund the coin for the most part, unless you're using. They're going to track you somehow, no matter what you do.
Yes.
So I understand what you're saying. It's just that I understand from that point of view, as if I'm a model and say I can't seem to figure out a way to get around all this stuff, which some banks are becoming more friendly and some are not. But eventually, and I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but is it possible that once the banks and the government sees that, because listen, they're not stupid, they follow the money. So they're going to say, listen, they're all using this spank chain. We need to go after these guys. And now we're going to shut down anyone who's using spank chain for adult, which could happen. And like you said, you're assuming the risk. So what if I have 1 million coins in spank chain and you're like, don't worry about it, Neil, I got the risk. And now they come after you and you're like, well, we're out. Where does my $1 million go?
Well, we actually do comply with all government stuff. So you're going to be 1099 on all of your things that go through it. So we comply.
What I'm saying is that if you're holding that money for me and they come and actually shut you down, where does that money go? What if they take it?
Well, we've actually sold it, and it's another layer of complicated understanding that I don't even really understand, but we essentially sell it immediately. So that money has already left us. It's not in crypto form anymore. It's in
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are the fees for that?
We have a 0.5% fee for merchants.
So for me, I would do, for everyone who used spank chain on Clips4Sale, if it's a $2, so instead of paying with dollars, I would have another option there for spank chain or whatever.
Yep.
Right. And it would say this is 10 spank chain. Is that what it's called?
It's called booty. It's a long story, but.
Okay. So 10 booties, 12 booties, whatever it is,
yep,
to equal the dollar amount that we want. And they would just go in and say, okay, for 10 booty, boom, it would automatically go to you. It would be a 0.5%, 0.5. which the credit card is like 4% for high risk, somewhere 5%. So it's less than that. And then I turn around and that money goes into now my account with SpankChain, and it's sitting in now you're holding it for me at the moment. So I can turn around and say, every day I want to cash that money out, send it back to my bank account. So what I'm thinking is and I've just seen this because over the years we've seen in the 20 years I've been doing this, there's always issues. But I'm thinking like, what happens if the bank that I'm using that takes all my, I need a bank, like you said. What if the bank starts seeing deposits coming from some unknown entity that's like, well, you're cashing out every day or every 3 days, and there's 10 grand, 50 grand, $100,000, and what, you know what I'm saying? That's where, to me, the red flags. There are always red flags with bank. It pisses me off, like it pisses everyone else off. But they do these due diligence every year, and they look at everything of what you're doing and how much money. And the more money you make, the more of a target you are. So the little bits of money, like if a model's making a couple thousand a month, it's probably not going to be flagged so much. But when you're seeing deposits every day, and that's why I think it's dangerous a little bit for the daily pay people, because they're seeing, the bank is looking like, why is this person getting daily money from these different websites? That to me is a little bit more risky. But
there are crypto-friendly banks, Neil, and this is something that I always tell people.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Just because they're crypto-friendly banks, and that's awesome. The main concern and the main observation I see with all of this, I'm reading through the comments that people are making from Tugs and Tootsies to both Kabooms to all of this stuff. And Corey touched on it a few minutes back, is the social environment that we're in currently is getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. The world is not getting, on an operational level, more sex worker friendly. It is getting less sex worker friendly. It absolutely is. And so as people search for more alternate ways of collecting their money, maybe they go to crypto. So maybe there is a reason for it, except as Neil is kind of underscoring throughout this, it always is tracing back to banks, transactions, all of this stuff. It always turns into this. There's always eyes, I guess is the point. So when you're trying to however you collect your money, when people are trying to cash their money out, we're talking about a social problem here more so than any other issue. And we're talking about sex work and sex worker negativity. And that's the thing that we really have to think about, because that's the bigger picture that's impacting all of these threads of conversation, is that there's all of these people trying to shut down the way we in this business make money. No? Yes? Maybe so?
Well, I think so too. And one thing also I wanted to ask you about the whole SpankChain would be, what if there's a refund? What if there's a chargeback? What happens if that person decides, and I don't know if it's possible, maybe they can't do it. And once they put their money in, you're done, and oh, well, you lost it. So that's how it works. Basically, I lost, if I bought 10,000 booty or 1,000 booty and I just spent 500, I'm assured as the merchant that I got that money and there's no way it's going backwards, no matter what happens. Even if the customer complains and says, I didn't get that video, it was broken, for example, I could basically get it fixed, or I don't have that risk of, well, what are you going to do? You lost the money, so it's not my problem. Obviously, I wouldn't do that, but I would make sure they got something for what they paid for. But there is a possibility that I could just say, you lose, basically. You ran it. You put in that risk of saying, I know I can lose that money, and therefore I'm an honest person. I'm going to make sure that this, that, and the other thing happens. Plus the terms of service. I don't know if you have them on that SpankChain website, but obviously I don't know if Corey wrote the terms of service or someone else. But I guess the terms of service have to be pretty clearly, written on the SpankChain site, so you know what you're getting into as a customer, as a merchant, and making sure that this is all above board. This is why, that's the only reason why we've been so hesitant over the years for doing this. And I know casinos take Bitcoin now. You could buy a boat with Bitcoin, cars with Bitcoin. They're assuming the risk, but they're not in our industry either. So this is where I always get hesitant, and coming from my father drilling into my head every day for the last 3 years is like, we don't need a target on our back, as like Chantel and Kimmy said. Why do we want an issue? Why even have an issue? Why not just, if it's not broken, keep going with the way we have it, which, obviously eventually it comes down to the individual outside of us as a company. It comes down to the model, the producer, and we have the same issues too. I mean, as a merchant, the banks come after us as well as like, what are you guys doing? We're going to shut you out of this bank and this bank. But it's odd because some of the banks that we had issues with years ago came back to us years later and said, oh, we welcome you with open arms. Come back to us. And we're like, wait a minute. So and what we found out as dealing with banks is if you're honest with the bank and tell them what you're doing, and you're like, listen, this is not illegal. This is low. It's not even high risk for you. All we're doing is making money, paying taxes, like Corey said. As long as you're being straight and forward with the bank, they assume they can see what's going on. Okay, we know what they're doing. We know this company's taking money with Visa, MasterCard. We know they're paying people. Okay, that's just like any other business. It's in, out, we're paying people. So that's where it gets to a normalcy for the bank. But if they don't know what you're doing and you're telling them, oh, we're doing web hosting. The next thing you know, you're doing all these weird transactions. Like, this doesn't seem like a web hosting company when you're dealing with, thousands of transactions a day. What's going on here? So eventually, and I don't know when this will happen, Corey or anybody else that's listening or watching, I don't know when the day will come when Clips4Sale will open the door to a crypto type of currency. I don't know if Clips4Sale would have its own cryptocurrency. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know. But yeah, I know. I mean, it's okay, but I don't know if we want to assume that risk again and now deal with it's always easier to let someone else for the 0.5%. It's like, you deal with it. Why do I have to deal with it? But we just want to make sure that we're not risking any of our money because that's what it comes down to, your money. And is it safe? Is it secure? Where is it? You're better off taking your money and investing it in something, obviously, but because you don't know what's going to happen with Bitcoin. I had a guy also, like Corey said, who invested in it a long time ago. He had millions. It went up to $19,000, right? Or 19.
Yep.
And then he was like, oh, I'm so rich. And then like a month later, it's down to 9. And he didn't cash out at 19,000, which he should have done. But okay, that's your problem. I've never invested in any crypto. I've been told to. You should do this. You should do that. I'm more like the slow grow guy. I'm not a like get rich quick kind of guy. I'd rather go slow and make sure my money's safe and secure. Which I'm sure, Corey, you're in that same boat too, and most people are. They don't want to risk their money.
And this is why I said you got to have those two baskets, and you have to always, when you get into crypto, you've got to be prepared. You have to be, if you're holding on to it as though it's a savings account, you've got to be prepared that I don't care if it's worth $6 million today. You got to be prepared that tomorrow it's going to be worth 0, and you need to be perfectly able to survive if that happened.
See, that's why I brought up the thing about gambling, because most people, when they go to a casino, they say, okay, I got this much money I'm willing to lose. And the rest of my money is in my kid's college fund that I'm not going to pull out right now. Not yet. I might. But here's my safe money that I'm okay to lose. So it's almost identical to a casino, if you think about it. You're willing to lose or make this money, and you don't care if you lose it because you're fine with that. But you still have your nest egg that you're not touching. Kind of. I mean, if you think about it, it's almost the same scenario.
Gambling is often I've always said that the good way to look at gambling is look at it as entertainment. Whatever money you go into the casino with that you're prepared to win or lose, whatever, it's ultimately entertainment. That's your cost of going in there, having fun, gambling, what have you. If you look at it as a
well, isn't that how crypto is too? Though it's a form of it. It's the same to me.
It depends. My belief, and this is just an opinion. I believe we're starting to see a little bit more stability now.
Yeah, I agree. A little bit.
We're not seeing the insane, what you said a minute ago was absolutely true. It was I think the high was 19,700. Today it's 9,000. Oh. So what did Chantel say?
She's saying wrap it up. Like maybe you have to wrap your hair in a bun or something.
You want to go there?
Anyway, that's
really start.
But it comes down to, I didn't know we were actually doing the crypto thing today. I don't read my emails that Chantel sends about.
Really?
I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Where's Sarah? Sarah's still here.
Sarah. I'd be more prepared if I was like, well, wait a minute, we need to get in on all this crypto. But not to bring down anybody about crypto. I just don't know. Again, like she said, I'm not as educated as some people are on crypto. I know a lot of people have come to me over the past years and said, you should take this one. You should, I forget the names of some of them, but they're just like, they just keep popping up out of nowhere. And that's where it gets kind of scary. Like,
but a lot of, you see, there is a lot of shitcoin out there. And,
right.
and you've got to be, and again, though, this is where education about cryptocurrency is key. You can't just dive in and be like, oh, I'm just going to do this without knowing it. It's an education thing. But since you brought up the fact that you didn't know anything about it today, one thing that Chantel's been doing a great job of is after each episode of this show, Neil, that again, my thanks to Clips4Sale for really hosting this. You know, these episodes are really getting better and better each week. We've been taking in a lot of questions. So like guys, like out there, after, you know, we finish today, if you guys have more questions, I am more than happy to do another session on crypto when Neil apparently will be more prepared, because today Neil didn't read our emails, and, you know, he's been busy putting up his Clips4Sale wallpaper or whatever the hell he does in his spare time.
That's what I do in my spare time.
Right, putting up Clips4Sale wallpaper and trying to find a bigger chain. But
I think that from the conversation here, I think to kind of like put a bigger spin, there's a big range of perspectives from like risk to safety. As somebody said in there, that's a very personal choice. We obviously have an option, you know, with Ali talking about Spank Chain, and people need to kind of take the initiative to learn about it. Right. And again, like, not to harp on all the gloom and doom like I always do, but within this context of like, there's always eyes out there watching you, us, everybody. And we know this, and it's important to remember that those eyes don't have our best interests in mind. And so thinking about what is stable, like what you feel most comfortable with, disclosure, you know, this, that, and the other. Everybody out there who's listening right now, really, there's a whole range of options here that we're talking about. So, you know, it's a personal choice, like somebody wrote in the chat. I don't know if it was Corey. I don't know who wrote that. I'm sorry. But it's definitely something that we should think about in a more complicated manner.
It comes down to education, just like anything else. Education on what you're getting involved in, and do a lot of research on things, just like we have to do as a company. And we can look at all these options in Spank Chain as well. I'm not against any of them. And I hope you don't feel that I'm against you in any way. I just, you know, we're just very like wishy-washy when it comes to people's money, and, you know, and me being responsible for a lot of it. So it makes me a little nervous, but at the same time, I'm open to look at options and to see what, you know, possibilities are out there for everybody to be happy and be, you know, get their money, obviously. So
Ali's also a successful Clips4Sale studio owner, Neil. So,
yeah,
you know,
I know I have to listen to her.
So, you know, you don't harp on her too badly now, or she might end up.
No, I know. It's a matter of, you know, like I said, it's a matter of making sure we make the best decisions for the whole of the company. That's all it comes down to. Not for me personally, because I don't care if I make money or not from a cryptocurrency. That's not in my wheelhouse. But it's for everybody else. So I look at it as though this is for them, not for me personally. But if it's beneficial for everyone and it's going to work, and there's no risk on my end as far as the target on my back, and they're like, well, we got to see what they're doing, I'm happy, you know, to try things. So it's something we could look at in the next, you know, couple months. And if she wants to share, you know, some more info with me, you probably have my contact. You probably have my cell number already, since it's so you can call me. You can call Corey.
The lesson of the day here is that Neil is open to trying new things.
Always open to try new stuff. So you never know. So I need to wrap it up. Chantel, is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes.
Okay. So anything else you want to say as a last, you know, minute, a last word, Corey, or no?
As always, guys, thank you all for coming and participating today. I think that, again, each time that Neil and I and Chantel are doing this, I think we're really trying to get stronger and stronger, and we're trying to give you guys as much condensed information as we possibly can in the time frame that Chantel allows us. So please, Sarah put up a link a minute ago. Keep the questions coming. Keep the comments. As always, you guys can always follow me on Twitter @myadultattorney. That's the one of the best ways to get a hold of me. I'll put it in here in a second so that you guys don't lose me. You can also always email me. My website is myadultattorney.com.
Shameless plugs here.
Well, I was about to plug you. I was about to say it, courtesy of the deal I have with Clips4Sale. But I mean, hey, if you don't want me to,
don't ever use the word plug me in a sentence when we're talking about fetish stuff. I'm not getting plugged. You can get plugged. Anyway,
are we talking about your hair? Are we talking about your hair plugs now? What are we talking about here?
Hey, you know what? The hair plugs look good, man. No, anyway.
Oh yeah, they do. Everybody wants to have a head that looks like felt.
Anyway, okay, listen. I can't take it anymore. So I'm going to wrap it up because Corey cannot seem to be quiet. So what I'm going
I haven't said anything in 10 minutes.
I'm just going to say thanks to everyone and thanks for you in Detroit for letting these people go with the dirty water and that case is thrown out. Good job over there, by the way. Let's kill more people with the water. Great. So anyway, thanks again. And we are we'll be bringing you more of these Clips4Sale legal zones in the future every month. Stay tuned for the next one in July. What's the next one? July what?
Oh, good question.
16th, 15th.
July 15th at 4 p.m. Our favorite. What's that?
On a Monday.
It's on a Monday, 4 p.m., July 15th. And, of course, anyone has questions, they should send them in ahead of time. Join in. You'll be able to watch it later. So for me, Neil, the owner of Clips4Sale, Corey Silverstein.
Oh, my God.
The best attorney in the world. And, of course, for Dr. Chantel, who's the real doctor on the panel. And we just want to make sure and say goodbye to everyone. Thanks again for Spank Chain for coming on. Thank you. And you can always reach out to me anytime via cell phone or email, and we can chat again. So, all right, everybody. Thank you again.
Bye.
Peace out. Take care. Bye.